Hi, y'all. How are y'all doing? I'm sorry it took me so long. I forgot. I had to check on something in the kitchen. Um, He's had my glasses on today, so I can look smart. You know, so I could be taken more seriously on an academic level. So decoding. I've been decoding since 9 o'clock this morning up until about 10 minutes ago, nonstop. This is how I spend a lot of my days when I'm not doing video or, you know, on social media. So I wanted to share with you guys what I get a lot of questions about or comments about, because a lot of people don't understand what they read and they take everything literally. And that's where they get a lot of information incorrect. So, certain people will write me and ask me to decode certain parts of stories or myths or Bible or whatever. So today, someone asked me to decode, and I've decoded so much more, but once it starts, it doesn't stop. Someone asked me to decode the story of Set in Egypt. And they didn't understand where all the sperm and, sexuality came into this. But it's all metaphor so that the basic human being with an average IQ can understand it, because it's genetic engineering. Okay, so I'll explain it to you guys. First, if you don't know the story of Set, he's this animal-like deity, and I'm going to show you guys a picture in ancient Kemet. So he's this deity. Y'all have seen him before, right? Okay. So here's another picture of him in his animal form. So as you can already see, he's several types of DNA spliced together. They can't figure out what type of animal he is because he's a generic experiment. Okay, he's all DNAs and animals, that have a common ancestor. So I was looking on this one scientific, I think it was National Geographic, and they came up with this animal. It says, meet the ancestor of, y'all saw that? Meet the ancestor of every human, bat, cat, and aardvark. Aardvark, ant eater. See how it's getting ready to eat a termite on a leaf? So Set would represent a genetic hybrid being, or the descendant of all these different DNAs put together. And he eats termites. Okay. Aardvarks eat termites. Okay. And if y'all have seen the movie Malcolm X, the first word in the dictionary that they read in prison is aardvark. Well, that's what it starts off with. They want you to, they put in Set in your mind right then and there, aardvark. Okay, so then the story goes, he wanted to be king. In order to do that, Horus had to submit to Set and allow him to put his DNA into him first. The DNA represents the DNA. So whoever gets their DNA put in the other first is king, which means they rule. Okay, so this is the same story over and over again with genetic engineering, with race mixing, with all of this. Okay, so um, Horus tricks Set and doesn't let him um, ejaculate inside of him, but instead puts it on his forehead when it comes out. And so Horus goes to his mother and tells him what he did. And she says, well, we can trick him and put your semen on his favorite lettuce, genes, genetic makeup, and he'll eat it, and then you'll be king. So, Set thought he was getting ready to be king, and he called everyone out. He said, Horus submitted to me last night, da 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 da, whatever. So he put also his Set sperm in a fish. Horus did that, or his mom. Okay, so then when they called out the sperm, okay, come out, semen, come out. Instead of coming out of Horus, it came out of a fish, and people were laughing like he slept with a fish. Ah, he slept with a fish. The fish like leaped into the sky. That was symbolic for the age of Pisces. Okay. So the false king, the age of Pisces, which was the age of where Jesus was. Am I still up, or did I get cut off? Can y'all comment? Thank you. Okay, thanks. So the age of Pisces was the false alarm. Okay. Then Horus calls out his sperm, and it starts to come out of the forehead of Set, the pineal gland. Okay. And they're like laughing and say, okay, Horus thinks he's king now. And so Thoth, out of nowhere, swoops in, takes the sperm off of, or the semen off of Set's head, put it on his own head, and declares himself king. So that was basically the bloodline, that was the DNA, that was the genetic engineering unto the rightful king of the throne, the descendants of Thoth. Okay, so Thoth is symbolic for thought, higher consciousness, and also, fond of the people of the land of Kim, the people of Earth. That's who he wanted to give the throne to. Okay, so all that trickery, all that DNA mixing and trying to get sperm and DNA from these people and stealing it and tricking people. No, I'm live. And then somebody all of a sudden just comes along and claims the throne while no one else is paying attention because they're too busy warring with each other. See, so he waits for them to do all the dirty work. Then he comes and swoops it and takes it for himself because he's smart. But at the end of the day, the story keeps going on and on. But that's what that story means. It has nothing to do with homosexuality. That's just a way that they explained things back then so that the story could keep its meaning. And it's just genetic engineering. They retold the similar story in the book of Genesis with Adam and Eve. So the Adam and Eve story is almost basically the same, except it's less sexual. So it's more anatomical, I'll say, having to do with the human body and the chakra systems and all that kind of stuff. So this is how I would look at the story of Adam and Eve. I would look at the story of Adam and Eve as a group of beings that were godlike, created Adam and Eve through genetic engineering, or they could have been an organic version of artificial intelligence. So a Adam and Eve would have been a version of artificial intelligence with organic bodies. And the tree of life would have been the spinal column and the adrenal system and the chakras. Because if you think about it, it was in the middle of the garden, the middle of your body, your spinal cord. The fruit on the tree of evil, knowledge of good and evil. So you go up and your chakras are, ascending. And then if you go down, they're descending into lower behavior. So knowledge of good and evil. They activated those chakras when Lilith did not want to submit to Adam. Because if you realize in the story of Set, whoever submit first cannot rule. So Lilith did not want to be ruled under Adam. So she left and she said, I want to be on top. I'm in control. And Adam was like, no, I want to be first. I want to be in control. So she left, and then these godlike beings put Adam to sleep and took one of his ribs. Now, a rib is an intercostal bone that is connected to your spinal column. Now we're getting ready to get medical here and scientific. When you remove a rib, you mess up your lymphatic system and you mess up your immune system because you're letting out spinal fluid. Now, if these were organic artificial intelligence, they didn't have a chakra system. Okay. But once you cut that skin, once you cut that bone, once you release that spinal fluid out of and all the endocrine glands out, and once that lymphatic system is interrupted, the energy is dispersed throughout the body and it has nowhere else to go. So it lines back up to where the central nervous system is, where most of the energy goes up and down in your chakras. So now they have the knowledge of good and evil. And then they realized, it gets very deep into metaphor. Then they realized, oh, we're naked because, their lower chakras were, activated. So they realized that they had these parts that could do certain things, and they were ashamed because of how they felt about themselves, right? So they were kicked out, or they left the garden or whatever. But first, they covered themselves with fig leaves because they thought they were naked. And there's several interpretations, and they all make sense. But when they left the Garden of Good and Evil, they then, started descending and having more animal-like tendencies. Like they used fur and animal skins to clothe themselves, when at first they just used leaves, So, they lowered their nature a little bit. And then the garden was then guarded by a flaming sword. And hold on, I wrote it down. So I didn't remember it word for word. I decoded the flaming sword thing. Okay. Yeah, it was a flaming sword. And so that represents a spine. The flames would represent a frequency, or the chakras. And this is so that they could not get back into the garden. So in order to get back into your higher self and your I'm gonna call it your Merkaba self. You have to dispel your chakra system back into your endocrine system. It's like you have to reverse your chakra system back into your endocrine system. And the only way to do that is to cleanse your endocrine system of all of its toxins, and try to live right here when it comes to good and evil, right in the middle. Because at that point, your chakras, all those energies are going to have to go somewhere because you're not really using them. So where are they going to go? If you have a wonderful working endocrine system, if your body is, at its top immunity, all that energy is going to go into your cells, into your organs, into your endocrine system. And your chakras will then go back to the form that they were, and into your solar plexus as your soul, or the seat of your soul. Then you can activate and basically travel like Enoch did, mentally, physically, spiritually. So it's kind of like you have to reverse everything. Everyone is talking about, why is everybody going back vegan? It's probably some people have higher intuition. Some people were vegan for other reasons. Some people became vegan because they did the research and they understood it on a spiritual level and a physical level and a mental level. And once, we get to that realization, we act accordingly. Some people are still living in their lower chakras and they don't even want to dispel that. They like it, and it's okay because the earth needs all types of people, so it doesn't even matter. Not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone wants to do that, and that's perfectly fine. So going back into that state of consciousness would require having a pure endocrine system and a well-functioning lymphatic system to take all of that energy out of those chakras back into the body, to put more energy into those organs and to the pineal gland, and then that creates a higher frequency, and which is what people would call your Merkaba, your light activation, whatever. So that's kind of what is going on. And, the lymphatic system also requires you to move around. So you got to get some exercise, or at least just walk somewhere. Just walk. Go dance, go walk, Yeah. This is my down to earth look today. I didn't feel like putting in my contacts or doing too much. But that is the breakdown of the Adam and Eve story. Now, the snake or the serpent is the rising kundalini, or the activation of your chakra system. If you think about the serpent, okay, and then you can take the whole story of Lilith and follow that. Maybe that's for another video, but and a lot of it does go back to bloodlines. Now, I don't want to get into the bloodlines today or the blood types because that's not really important. But a lot of these go back into the blood types and why there was so much struggle for power and why people have to trick each other and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it starts back over, and the power goes back to the original inhabitants of Earth. I see it like a huge video game for extraterrestrial energies to play the game in a organic, artificial intelligent body, like a robot, and see who can escape first, kind of like Maze Runner. That's how it looks to me. It looks like a game. And there are players that are aware that it's a game. There are players that aren't aware but will figure it out. And then there's players that know it's a game from the start. There's some that come in with strategy, some that don't, and some that were never supposed to know that finds out. So it's a huge, for me, it's like a huge game. And the whole goal is to figure certain things out, rule, and then escape. And the only way to escape is a certain discipline, which is what I just explained about the Merkaba and the chakras and the reversing of the chakras back into your endocrine system. Okay, so Set, let's go back to Set. Set represents all the tricks that people will try to escape. They will try genetic engineering. They will try, to play victim. They'll try to seduce. They'll try to do all of those things. And there's always going to be someone ahead of the game. And so Horus was ahead of the game. Okay. Then there's always that woman that conspires with them, which was Isis, his mother, or Aset. And she conspired with Horus. And then, Set got played. Okay. But then Thoth came along like the smartest of them all and just took it all after they did all the dirty work for them and just absorbed all their information, their hard work, and their tricks and took the throne. And I feel like Thoth is the one to be the smartest one. The one who figures it all out at the end without doing all the tricks and deception and the dirty work. He just comes and takes what was already discovered and done, and then he capitalizes on it. And the reason that I feel like Thoth did that was to teach them all a lesson. Like y'all can scramble and fight all you want, and I'll watch you, and I'll study you, and I'll study your tricks. And when you least expect it, I'm going to come and take the throne from you. That is what Thoth represents. Set represents the first trickster. Horus represents, the conspiring trickster. And Thoth represents the trickster that takes the throne in the end after he tricks all the tricksters. So for me, that's where you want to be mentally. Don't play into like Seth was victim mode. Horus was, seduction mode and trickster mode. Okay, I'm going to seduce you to get what I want. Then Thoth was, I'm just going to take everything after studying all your methods. I know I can predict every move you make, and I know when to strike. So basically, all these, genetic engineering stories are just ways for these trapped souls to escape and to gain knowledge in order to realize how to escape, rule, and then escape, and then come back to rule again. Someone commented a Beyonce lyric, and y'all know I don't really say bad words, but in the song Top Off that she did with Jay-Z and DJ Khaled, she said, F it up, leave, come back, and F it up again. So that's the game. That's the cycle. That's the game, you know. Hmm. Right. The Kali energy. So, hmm and I started decoding other stuff like when it says when it was talking about the Garden of Eden when they were kicked out, and it says there are going to be living creatures on the east side of the garden. I'm like, the living creatures on the east side of the garden. What the heck is that? That's some super deep stuff to decode right there. Like living creatures. Okay, so gotta understand the word creature. Creature is a lower animal. Okay. East is where they first, not west, or east is the right side of the brain, and west is the right side of the world, or the east side of the world. I mean, east is the east side of the world, where the chakra first became popular, the chakra system. The creature is the lower self. I will put living creatures in the east of the garden, which represents, thoughts or access from your root chakra into the right side of your brain. That's the creativity. And when you become, like they said, look, they have become like us. So that creativity allows them to create, which is what a lot of scientists are afraid that artificial intelligence will start to do if given too much information. That's the whole thing that's getting ready to repeat. But instead of organic artificial intelligence, which is what we are, it's going to be more of a mixture of organic and material organisms. So if they can take an organic being and implement certain parts that are not organic so that this being can live longer. So, for example, if you can create a kidney made out of, stem cells from someone, and instead of lining it with, nerves that work with nerves, you line them with gold plated nerves or gold enlaced nerve systems for faster and more efficient function. So I think this is going to be the next form of man trying to be like God. And then those robots, if you saw our robot with Will Smith, those robots are going to start to develop a consciousness as well, because they're going to get injured. Then something's going to happen to their system, and that the energy is going to go to a certain space and activate a certain type of energetic flow that will lead to the consciousness or the ability to create once again. And they've been talking about trying to transfer the human consciousness into robots and all that kind of stuff. It's just happening on a whole different sub level. They've already created like a what you call a Frankenstein stingray. It's like they took plastic, gold, and cells from a mouse heart, and they put it together, and the nervous system is gold. The flaps and the tail is plastic, and the brain cells from the mouse is activated if you shine light on it. We get our activation through our eyes and our pupil and our skin and our breath. So by shining light into it. And so now they're starting to do this with organic robots. And I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they already created a human one. But what I'm trying to say is this is the next phase. And before people have even figured out how to get out of this phase, they've already created another phase, another trap, a trap within a trap. And I was watching Star Talk Radio, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and this one was titled, The End of the World or How the World End. And I had this guy that does a podcast about how the world might end. And a viewer asked, what's the number one most realistic way that you feel the world will come to an end? And the guy said artificial intelligence. And he meant that once, artificial intelligence becomes able to create, it will know everything and it will try to get rid of its maker. So that, that's what they fear, like on The Matrix or Terminator. So Neil deGrasse or someone asked, well, how would you put a box around that from happening? How would you prevent that from happening? And then they switched questions, or I didn't listen to the rest. But that struck a chord with me. And I was like, well, how would I prevent something from taking over? And if this artificial intelligence had a huge hunger for knowledge and how to become like, God or its creator or whatever, how would you put a box around it to imprison it? My answer was, I wouldn't put a box around it at all. I would put a box inside of it with a hidden secret. And instead of focusing on this aspect of it, I was thoth with it, y'all. I'm telling y'all, I became thoth with this one. Instead of putting a box outside of it, you put a box within with the secret of whatever you're trying to hide from it, so that it will focus so much on figuring out, this secret, that it's not even thinking about the outside anymore, and it's trapped within itself. And then if it ever should figure out the secret and the knowledge comes out of the box, it would be another secret on the outside. And it will keep you in and out, in and out, in and out. So the secret on the outside would then again reflect back to the secret on the inside. Now, I know, right? So how do you ever get out? How do you keep the secret? How do you keep the secret if the AI can predict your thought patterns and how you're going to, where you're going to put the secret next time? What prevents them from, changing time to stop your planning and because they're going to be able to start to do that. Well, whatever the secret is has to be totally random. It has to be totally random, and it has to be something that is unpredictable. Okay? And what is unpredictable is something that most scientists don't study or don't put a lot of effort in or don't really focus on a lot publicly or research-wise on the internet. Get an animal whose color, no, get an animal, put some glasses of a different color spectrum over the animal, and whichever one it sniffs at first, or like if it's a group of colors, whatever color it sniffs at first will be the password to get out. There's no way they're going to predict how an animal sees through a certain color spectrum. They don't know if you got a black light on or not. You're going to have to do totally random things like that to keep artificial intelligence busy. You have to put basketball on the TV. You're going to have to put celebrity gossip online. You're going to have the spiritual aspect of self and people going within and meditating, all that stuff. You're going to have to put, you're going to have to make war. You're going to have to put fear into people. That's what this world is. It's a box to keep us from getting out and becoming or trying to become what created us. And once you realize that, it's like, you know, that's interesting. Why do, like, if you ever think about it, why do we want to get out anyway? This is gonna make y'all be like, dang, why do we want to get out anyway? Like, what else? When we die, where do we want to go anyway? Did you ever think about that? Where do you want to go? Let's say you never have to come back and reincarnate again. Where do you think you're going to end up? What are you going to be doing? What is your job? What is going to be your purpose? Yeah, exactly. What's going to be your purpose? We're going to do when you get there. That's my question. That's what we should ask ourselves. Like, if we finally get out, do we even have a mission? Like, what do we want to do? But we can choose out of what? What are those options? Creating a universe. Exactly. There's so many universes already. We have many omniverse. We live in an omniverse. A cosmos, right? So if you think going to work, waking up and going to work 9 to 5 every day is a tough job, try keeping a universe in order in your consciousness. So experience other universes. But if you experience other universes, you're still trapped. You know what I mean? So you said you already have to be next to source, right? And chill there. Okay, what is source? Some dark matter, some dark energy. You're gonna chill next to dark energy, or be a part of it. And then once you're a part of it, then what? Mm-hmm. You're gonna want to escape that eventually too, because you're never gonna stop ever. So that's why I feel that it's almost like a game, and you just play it. Is it to transcend from our current form? Well, when you die, you transcend from your current form. Like Sims, exactly. Never satisfied is a game. Well, I was just thinking, like, what would I want to do if I did get to escape and do something else? What would I actually want to do? Right. So the second son, you want to talk about that? Okay. Just something to think about. Just think about it. If you figure it out, maybe there'll be a good reason to. But just think about it. Like, if robots or AI took over the earth, what exactly did it want to do in the first place? Just be better. It wanted to win. It just wanted to win. It just wanted to win. That's all it wanted to do. It wanted to win. And that's the whole stupid Miley Cyrus thing that you guys see on the internet. Oh, Miley Cyrus put a rap line in her song about Nicki Minaj, saying, I love you, Nicki, but I listen to Cardi. Okay, that is code. The name Nicki means to win or victory. And the word Cardi means heart. Listen to your heart. So she says, I love victory, but I listen to my heart. So that is the key. The heart chakra is the key, because when that frequency is balanced, which is one of the strongest frequencies, that heart chakra, when it's extremely in charge, that sacral chakra, and then your throat chakra, and then you have your heart chakra. When that's good, you're back to that state of bliss. And no matter where you are or what you're doing, you're enjoying whatever it is. Okay. Yeah, you're experiencing yourself at that point and not on a mission anymore. So that's how, a lot of those celebrity gossip things put out information in code. They use people's names and stuff like that. So um, just be at peace, be at bliss, be at harmony, and every day is going to be fun, not really a struggle. And you just do what you enjoy instead of always trying to figure out something, or whatever, or to do something that's, super non fulfilling. Just enjoy your life, whatever it is. That's what you're here for, not to escape. And if you do escape mentally, spiritually, and physically, you coming right back anyway. you know. So mhm. Even if you can escape, you would come back out of boredom or wanting variety or something like that. Yeah, Enjoy Yourself by Michael Jackson. Right, right. See? But we have to learn this over and over again. Because if you think about it, in the ancient civilizations, when things are starting over fresh, everyone's at peace and bliss and harmony. There is no looking for something, you know, or striving. There's no race. Everything is calm and cool and collective, and people just live and enjoy. And then what happens? Someone comes along and starts to disrupt that peace. This is like when the game people choose their characters and then they just, you know, pop up on the screen and then, start playing this game. But every time, this earth starts over, it's always back to peace until something happens to where we start looking for something, competing, we start trying to outdo this person, outdo that, we try to figure out something first now, the arms race, the Olympics, sports, intelligence, science, spirituality. Now there's people debating online about spirituality and, oh, I caught this person doing this. You can't trust them. Why is that your leader? It starts to get to that point, and you totally forget all about the true reason that you're here is to experience bliss and peace and just be happy and live and you know have a many days to just be. Doesn't have to be a race. I don't compete with anybody. I do enjoy. I do enjoy certain things that come along with that, but I don't really partake in the competition of anything. Like, I don't care. um, we don't have to come back. You don't have to come back, but you'll just be bored. And then eventually you will come back. Read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. He goes through the entire thing and how he lived, was spiritual, was a great magician and a great king. He conquered the world, and then he went out of his body and became one with source and learned, and then went through the gates and went into another whole universe. And then he went to sleep for a little while, and now he's coming back. You know, so if you were Thoth and you did all that, and you mastered yourself, you mastered the universe, you you went into another universe, you fell asleep, and now you left your wisdom behind for other people, and now you're coming back. Why did you come back? Because you already did everything. Are you back by popular demand? Okay, now ladies, let's get information. Right. So prove to me you have some coordination. Slay. What do you slay with the sword? Slay, or you get eliminated. There you go. She said it right there. So, the words sound silly, but you put them all into context and decode them, it makes sense. So, this is my pleasure, one of them, until I decode everything I can find to decode. This is how I spend my time decoding stuff because it's interesting to me how, you know, um, so many people could put this information in so many different forms, words, stories, religions, songs. It's just a beautiful work of art to me. So I appreciate the links that people go through um, to put this information in their music, song, books, stories, religion, so that I have something to do and decode and then show other people how to do it. You know, um, the Emerald Tablets of Filth. Mhm. Tasha. Well, think about Thoth's story. In order to be able to leave and come back, it's a game. There are some people who don't suffer at all, still on this planet, and they still live in the original state that um, they started off in. There's a few islands, there's a few tribes in the rainforest, there's a few tribes in India, there's places in Africa where people still live tribal, simple lives. There's some places that people still live on a certain frequency. I'm gonna say frequency, and no one bothers them. Some of them are even protected, and they don't have the harsh reality of a system. They don't pay taxes. They don't do a lot of stuff. But it was their choice to stay in that frequency. That's the frequency everybody's trying to get to. Heaven and bliss on earth where there's no money and there's no government and there's no taxes to be paid and everybody is love and peace. Go into the forests and go into the rainforest of the Amazon and stuff. There you go. You right there. Oh, but I want technology. I want to have technology with it. Use your spiritual technology. Oh no, but I don't know how. Well, if you live there, you would figure it out. If someone took something away from you, you'd figure out how to get the same task done without it, with what is in your environment or what is in within you. So, but I'm so used to this life. Well, where do you think you're going to turn into and go to when you turn into a soul and leave you think you're going to have technology? You think you're going to have a cell phone, right? So I think people want to live in a fifth or sixth dimensional vibration in paradise on earth, but they don't want to give up the trappings of the lower place. And the alternative to that is an artificial, intelligent, mechanically operated organic body that will allow you to live in any environment. Why people want to go to Mars? Like how would a human body survive on Mars? The only way that a human body could survive on Mars is genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. So, right. So to want to have both, You're going to have to sacrifice something, you know, and that's going to be your body. Um, Total recall. Exactly. Um, think about that title, The Total Recall of Consciousness. Back into um, a more dense body. And it's going to be harder to escape that body if you try. It's going to be a trap after that. You can escape this body, no problem. But think about being in a robot body where it's made of gold and copper and wires and plus stem cell skins. How are you going to escape that chakra system if it is super powered by metals, crystals, just like the rings on Saturn? How are you going to escape that? Because each frequency on each layer of rings, you have to match that frequency to even get out of those rings. That's why Saturn is a perfect example of a prison and the rings around it, and then to even get in, you have to descend. So a lot of people would rather, they want to keep both because they don't want to give up this creation, just like the story of Atlantis. They don't want to give up the story or the knowledge, like the story of Atlantis. So eventually it destroys itself because it can't escape. And then the knowledge is passed to some other people, and it begins all over again. No one is just happy living in bliss forever. So eventually someone's going, but there are tribes that live in bliss, the Dogon tribe. That's why they moved away from Egypt, because they saw the way that it was headed, and they left to live in their own communities again and just be at peace and at bliss. So I think we're missing the entire point. Most people go to distant lands to make pilgrimages, go and meditate in the temples, in the East, to look for that higher, self. And then you have the other side that's trying to create technology to replace the higher self. So, yeah, it's a bit. And so the whole thing will keep going in a circle. Kanye's interview about mental illness. If you really think about it, the entire cycle is mental illness. But a lot of things are hidden from you, so you don't realize that you're. And some people do, but some people don't realize. But like I said, most people's definition of paradise and harmony and heaven and living as a utopian society already exists, but they don't want to go backwards. They don't want to give up the technology. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy the technology. I think people can find a happy middle ground. There are lots of places that have found a middle ground to sustain it. They're using their spiritual minds instead of artificial intelligence. The people are starting to figure out how to create trash eating or electric grids that run off of trash, cars that run off of water, cars that run off of garbage, starting to figure out how to make technology organic. This is the key right here. Instead of trying to escape, instead of trying to beat someone at the arms race, if you like technology, focus on how to make it organic. Make it organic. Make it use things that does not cause issues, economic issues, pollution issues, and things like that. And so you will have your happy medium. But there's so much competition. That's why another saying in one of those videos I post, sickle mode, checks over stripes. That's another metaphor. I know it also means Saturn, but Saturn is also discipline. Checks, like the Nike check, represents victory. Stripes represent service. So victory over service. I want to win. I don't want to have peace and serve, whatever. But service usually goes a longer way because everyone can benefit from it and not just one, benefiting from a victory. So that's why you always saw like MJ wearing the stripes, military stripes, and his little armband, and why Beyonce wears it as well, because they're promoting service, information, helping people, supplying certain things to people that don't have it, trying to make everyone come to a happy medium. So I heard that Jay-Z just invested in, thank you, Real AK-47. Thank you. I heard that Jay-Z just invested into an app that monitors parolees that just got out of prison. And everyone reacted instead of paused to think about what this would do. Everyone reacted, oh, I knew he was a traitor. They didn't think. So he's been telling you about this for a long time in his music, new watchers, new watch alert. He's investing in this because if you control the data, you control the data. You can control what people see, think, know, technology-wise. You control a lot. Okay. You got to have watchers for your watchers. Exactly. Now, we already have watchers. We already have the law. We already have the government. Technology is the watcher of the watchers. So if he's investing in that, then he has more access to people than the government. He has more access to things and systems than these people do. They have to use his system. You see? So people react, they become Set, Horus, and I'm over here being Thoth. You got to be like Thoth. You have to sit back and watch and think about how to take it all. Technology. So you take it all. The person that is in charge of it has to be someone who is of service, not wanting the victory. Like Nikola Tesla, he wanted to give out free electricity, but they shut him down because they wanted to win. They wanted to charge folks, So, you have somebody like Jay-Z, paying people's bails, sending his team of lawyers to help people, helping a 12-year-old who got arrested for cussing out his teacher because she told him he needed to stand for the pledge or whatever. He got that little 12-year-old boy out of juvie or whatever. If you're of service and you have control over technology, the results are going to be different in the wrong hands than it would be in the right hands. You know, someone who already grew up in suffering, someone who understands the suffering of other people versus someone who's never suffered. You know, someone who has more understanding and compassion for people than someone who doesn't have any at all. So what you do is you get all these service people of service to buy up the technology and the data and the apps. And then you would have the type of society that you want. And the only people that can do this are the people who don't have a desire to rule over another people. So that's where the technology has to go. And you can see every day, these little African kids creating and building stuff out of trash, scraps, stuff they find in the street, these crazy inventions and things that we could never even think of as creating because they already have that talent. They are the ones to be, the deciders of how technology should be used to be used. I feel like I would rather. It's just like the Wakanda situation, the vibranium. They didn't want to give it to the rest of the world because they knew what they were going to use it for. They knew they would make weapons instead of heal. They knew they would try to conquer each land instead of feed each land. So that's why they didn't want to give it to the rest of the world because they knew how the rest of the world thought because they've observed. And so at the end of the Black Panther movie, when you saw them go and try to tell this room full of UN, delegates that they have technology like Earth has never seen before, and they were laughing at them. Whatever, like what does Wakanda have that they can offer? But he wanted to be in charge of it. He didn't want them in charge of it. He wanted to be in charge of it. So I feel like once technology is put in the right hands, it's no longer dangerous. When you put it in the wrong hands, it becomes dangerous. So it needs to be put into the hands of someone who is of service. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. We need victory and service, though. Yeah, once you get past once you already win, once you win already, but you came from service, you go back to service. You see, if you never came from service, you don't know how to go back to service. All you know how to do is try to win and beat the next person and beat the next person. All you know is competition. All you know is I need 3 yachts instead of 4 yachts because my rival over there at the other corporation has 5 yachts. You don't know what service is because you didn't come from that type of alchemy. I'm gonna call it alchemy because that's exactly what it is. Um, you know, if you see this person do something, you're going to do something to one up them, even if it's dangerous, because your mission is not service, it's to win. And once you lose sight of what to use something for, that's when it becomes dangerous. So it should be put in the hands of someone who's already won so they don't crave that can go back to service. So I do agree with that. Once you've already won and see that that's not the answer and there's nothing else to it, once you drive a car for a month, it's just a car, no matter what type of car it is. Once you live in a mansion, it's just too far to walk and too much to clean. You stay in one room anyway. Once you have all those things, it's like, okay, I want to do something else. You get bored. It's like, think about the description of heaven. Once you get to heaven, like in the description that most people think heaven is, you know, after about a week, you're going to be bored. You're going to want to go do something else. It's the same thing. Win and come back and do something else. If you don't know anything else, there's nothing to come back to. So, you know, some people didn't have the simple beginnings. Some people didn't have a, spiritual tribe or history or people to look back to upon like these great spiritual ancestors, so they have nothing to go back to. They keep looking forward and want to keep creating and creating and creating until they create themselves into a trap to never return. So I think that if you do that, be smart. Okay. You already in. Let me see something. I have to make a phone call real quick. But it's just. Sorry. One sovereign true. Did you take the stuff out of the oven? Oh, okay. I was wondering because I told Sasha. Okay. Well, I'm still live, so I was just checking. Okay. Bye. I'm too lazy to get up. Thank you. So, do y'all have any questions or thoughts, or what do y'all think about? I look like a little girl. Talk about about the spirals of the universe. Do you think he was talking about spirals of going and coming back? I think he was speaking on how the universe expands and how energy travels. Um, According to nature, the Fibonacci sequence. So if you're going in different angles, you're not going to be in harmony with the universe. That's what that meant. And anything that's not in harmony with the universe is seen as, disorder or something that shouldn't be there. What books do I recommend again? Book of Enoch. If you don't know how to decode yet, I recommend any book on symbolism. If you do know how to decode, any religious book, any religious story, any ancient Egyptian stories, Book of Enoch is very coded. So if you can study the electromagnetic spectrum, you'll see a lot of code in writings that refer to science. You got to know science, quantum physics, but not the mathematical part, just maybe the vocabulary. Be familiar with light spectrum, be familiar with like the lymphatic system, be familiar with the chakras. Just get a whole bunch of spiritual books and read them because you're going to need them all. Just pick somewhere and start. It doesn't even matter. just pick whatever you can get into and start there, because I've been reading and studying for years and I still learn something new every day. Still. So just start wherever you're comfortable, you know? hmm and understand that some people, okay, let me talk about this part. Um, there are some people that are not going to have the capability of even understanding this information. There's some people that will, and there's some people that will not. Those people are not going to ever understand it. Ever. And there is nothing you can do. Okay? Some people don't even want to understand it or care to understand it. So I feel like those people, no problem. There are people that are seeking knowledge, and those people are going to have a higher frequency when they read this knowledge. And so they will be able to absorb it easier, faster, and understand it on a higher level. So if you are not passionate, and I'm going to tell you, if you're not passionate about something, you're not going to get it. You ever went to school and they gave you this stupid long, article to read where you have to answer questions about it and you didn't even finish the article because it was so dang boring? You just rather fail than read that garbage? That's what people that will never get it feel like. Okay. Or if if it was something not of interest to you. But if it was your favorite, whoever, celebrity, your favorite writer, you would read that thing and make an A on it because that's your passion. So some people, the knowledge is not going to be, hold on. The knowledge is not going to be easily, unfolding to them because it's not their passion. Their vibration don't get extra high around it, So, if your vibration is not extra high when opening a book or researching, you're not going to get what the next person whose frequency is extra high when they open a book. That's just how it is, right? You don't wake up at 9:30 on a Friday and decode for 4 hours straight if your frequency is not high for information. You don't invest in leather, gold, books to write down garbage in. Okay. So, that's the difference. How people can get certain knowledge and how some people don't or don't want it. And I feel like even if you speak with other people and they have knowledge and they don't agree with your knowledge, it's still knowledge. Take it. Sure, have you ever felt like you had a lot of knowledge intuitively without reading or researching? Yeah, I sure did. Thank you. We care a lot. I did, but the knowledge that I do learn increases the intuition. It's like the missing pieces to it. Okay. So it's like the missing pieces. And once you get the missing pieces, it makes it even better, And when you've been reading certain things for so long and then you get the missing pieces to it, it's like, oh my gosh, now it all makes sense. I knew everything was for a reason, adding up everything for a reason. And so it kind of gives you that confirmation, and it makes your frequency go even higher and to do more. Right? Do y'all feel like that too? hmm I used to be narrow-minded and lost. Now that I've expanded my paradigm, I see people. Thank you, James. It's on. So you go. Right.
Come on, come on, come on.
Right. So it's like, once you get that confirmation, it's like, wow. And it makes you feel like there's so much more to discover. And it's a pleasure, not a race. Not, hey, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. I got to get this knowledge before that person. It's like something that I enjoy. It's not a race. There's no debates. There's just the unfolding. Hmm. Knowledge for yourself. Exactly. And then I can teach my kids. And knowing these things in life allow you to make certain decisions with so much more knowledge. And those decisions that you make end up being wise decisions versus reaction decisions, or emotional decisions. Like once you get this knowledge, you can't be any other way. This knowledge is not even for people that react, you know, um, in such a way. You know, it won't even match that frequency. So they won't understand certain things anyway. And that's why when you see certain people reacting to things, you already know they won't understand many things because they didn't see what was right in front of their face before they even reacted to it. So before I get into like celebrity beef or celebrity controversy, I already see the decoded meaning of it before I even read the article or click on the video because the title says it all. The names and the action says it all. I don't even have to click it. I already know what's going on. There are so many people making videos on stupid Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj and Jay-Z. They have no idea that, you know, those are moves that are in their best interest. Mm-hmm. Right. Like Beyonce not being an icon. Exactly. See, that's the thing. Like, you can't compare someone like Michael to someone who hasn't been there and not, or has the same amount of experience as someone like Michael. To even do that would be silly. And I think she put that out there as well because I don't think being an icon is the goal. It's only the result of service, you see. So the people that were wanting her to actually say, oh, she's an icon without the amount of service that it requires to become labeled an icon would be silly. That means she was more interested in the title, which, is only earned by doing and giving service. Um, you know, so if my thirst for knowledge is all day, then I'm on the right track. Yes. Metal Rob Rising, yes, that is true. um, and when I was talking about the vegan diet earlier, I'm not everybody is gonna be vegan, and that's fine. I don't care. Not everybody's gonna eat meat. I don't care. It depends on what you want to do with your personal energy. It's a personalized, energetic choice of foods to put in your body to create certain energetic frequencies. That's it. It's like a machine. You get a car, you're not gonna put diesel in it if it don't take diesel fuel. If you don't have a diesel engine, You don't put the diesel fuel in it. You got a Tesla car. You don't have to put fuel in it at all. It gets energy from, electricity and the sun. What type of vehicle do you want? Okay. People build their vehicle around the gas system, the system that gives it energy, or the energy system or whatever. Okay. They don't build the car and then say, gee, I wonder what kind of energy is going to work off of. No, they start with the energy in mind. And the human body, or the human artificial intelligent body, was formed to not have a chakra system, but to be able to have a certain energetic quality in its endocrine system, so that it could do certain things that it can't do anymore. So, in order to get back to that type of body, if you want that type of body, it's possible through the diet. If you don't care about it, you don't need that type of body, and you like your chakra system, and you like lower chakras, which many people do, which I have enjoyed and still do sometimes and stuff like that. If you want to continue on that vibration and frequency and run off of that type of fuel, that's perfectly up to you. That's your car. And the beautiful thing about it is that you can change your system anytime that you choose to. It's your choice. That easy. That's why I don't get hung up on diets. That's why I don't get hung up on, oh, well, you're supposed to do this, because we all have free will. You want this type of energy, then you eat that type of food. You want this type of energy, and you want to enjoy this type of activity, then you eat that type of food. So there's nothing wrong with it. And the only thing that I say is, if you're on a similar journey as someone that understands, and they're going with less meat, and you want to also be on that same frequency, then you're going to have a similar diet. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I don't get into, diets and stuff. It's just, what kind of experience do you want? And like I said, at any time, you can change it, which is kind of cool, because you can't really do that with a real car. But the body is so cool. And, we have different types of fuel to feed it in order for it to do different things and experience different things. It's like the ascension and the descension. It's the detox. Yeah, so it's all up to you guys. There's nothing to feel guilty about. Just don't damage it. Thank you, Metal Rising. Metal Raw Rising, I appreciate it. Just don't damage it, so that if you do choose to go a different direction, you can, or if you like to stay on one frequency, that you can stay there long enough to fully enjoy it. Don't destroy it by overindulging. Don't destroy it by not balancing it out every once in a while. You got to go get that oil change, got to change that air filter, got to keep maintenance up on your car, got to get an inspection. Make sure you keep it going, no matter what you do. Right. The lack of control can teach you much. Exactly. Someone that eats a gallon of ice cream and a cake in one sitting. Wow. As fun as that sounds to me, I'm not going to have fun later on that night. I'll tell you that. Okay. Anyway, repercussions, exactly. And like all that dairy in your guts, and that's going to lower your immunity. You said diabetes coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the donation. I'm trying to pronounce your name. Cedrion. RN, can you talk about chakra work? Thank you. Thank you for the donation. So I talked about chakras a little bit earlier, but work. Thank you, Kim R. Appreciate that. So your lower chakras and your higher chakras, like solar plexus and up, solar plexus and down is your lower chakra. Um, to become balanced, they're supposed to be rotating in opposite directions of each other from solar plexus down and solar plexus up. But to get rid of them altogether, purify your endocrine system, which are your glands, which start with your lymphatic system. So water, no less toxins and stuff like that. As far as diet is concerned, as far as energy is concerned, try to be neutral in how you feel about things and how you see things and and what you do. Like, mhm. Don't have any knowledge of good and evil. Just see things as a robot would, basically. hmm Um, or work from the top, from this part up instead of that part down. Clockwise, counterclockwise. It's called so-called energy makes the stand. Exactly. So I look smart in my glasses. Oh, now y'all taking me serious. The eyelashes wasn't good enough. um, this is not my new look. I'm just not putting on my contacts and a bunch of makeup on today. Can someone tell me, can you talk to spirits with pencils? Yeah. Are you doing Charlie Charlie over there? That's old. Like you just discovered that. Um, Go look up Glozell's Charlie Charlie challenge video. That's the funniest one I've seen. Um, y'all know Glozell on YouTube? Go watch her Charlie Charlie video. Y'all gonna crack up. You can pretty much charge, it works off of electricity, electromagnetism, just like all those ghost meters do. So wherever you have a higher frequency of electromagnetic frequency, the pencils will turn. It's science. So let's say you're in a room and the frequency is the same. And if the energy should enter the room or respond by turning your pencil, another frequency or an increase in frequency has just happened. So basically, it could be an increase of energy in the room. That's what it's detecting. So yes and no, depending on the circumstances. If somebody walks outside and they're using the phone or cell phone or something, the frequency could change and the pencils could move, right? If someone, it could be a lot of factors. So, but if there's no technology around, you're in the middle of the woods and this pencil start to turning, yes, it's probably a spirit. Okay. hmm Magnetism, what is that? Never used it. Never heard it used that way before. It's the magnetism, electromagnetic energy or energy. Tesla touches on it. There's energy in the air with all the 5G, 4G, 3G wireless internet in the air. It's everywhere. That's how we receive information as well, through light and through our pineal glands. Some people call it the Akashic records that people access when they, try to get insight into things. It's like a cosmic Wi-Fi system. That would be the Akashic records. And if you had the right electromagnetic frequency in your body to pick up on it, you'll be able to pick up on it. You don't have the correct frequency to pick up on it, you won't pick up on it. That's the formula, with the diet and all that kind of stuff, creating a frequency that can pick up on the Akashic records. If you notice that most of the people that refer to the Akashic records in the East, like the East Indians, they have a more vegetarian diet, which is why they were able to access certain levels of consciousness because of their frequency. Then you have people that used other things, but stimulants or something like that. Whatever. Thank you, Elevate Together, for the donation. So different cultures use different things, but in order to have a pure frequency, it's best to do it through your body, which is the instrument to receive the information. It's kind of like a satellite. If it's like stuff all on the satellite, if it's parts are not functioning because it's covered with like debris or something like that, you have to clean it off and get it functioning, point it back in the right direction, and it should work fine. So that's all the body is, really, is a satellite to pick up on information electromagnetically. Can you elaborate on that one tree in the book of Enoch, the lemon tree? I pull up in a lemon. Not because she ain't living. It's just your eyes get acidic. The Rihanna and Pharrell song, it's a lemon tree. A lemon refers to, lemonade. That's Beyonce's album. Okay. That is the, I don't know have you been here since the beginning of the video? A lemon would represent Thoth, or the one who got the whole, okay, you're here. So it's basically the end result of a big, it's basically the end result of something that you have created and designed your body to become. So in the ancient days, you would have, groups of people that would mate until they looked a different way. Then you had some people that kept the way that they looked. So a lemon would represent someone that kept the way they looked, suffered for it, and then grew into this fragrant fruit, and also have the same genetic makeup as the other original people. So they end up with their own special tree. Basically, it's the same story of the Jews and the suffering for 400 years, and then the rise in power, whatever, of the chosen people or whatever. That's what the lemon is. And also it probably represents the Rh negative factor in Black people. It would represent the Rh negative factor in Black people. So the original blood that came from a certain group of people 600, 400 to 600 years down the line coming back through the body of the original people, basically, the son of man, basically. Right. And plus lemon has a lot of medicinal qualities, and also improves your immune system. Hmm. Son of man, right? That's what it means. So that tree represents the lemonade. You get lemons, you make lemonade. The the fragrant tree, the medicinal properties of that tree. It's from the evergreen family. It's in the book of Enoch. It's this tree that he won't tell them about. It's like a secret tree. They won't say the name of it. They won't tell you any magical details about it. It just, they tell you what it is so that you recognize it without, if you know how to decode, you would recognize it. Right. I thought limes were better according to Dr. Stevie. Well, they're from the same type of tree. You know, they're both from an evergreen tree, but the lime, I would say the lime and the lemon, the citrus fruit in general, that fragrant tree, it was out of place. Okay. The whole point of the tree is that it wasn't where it's supposed to be. You see, the tree was up in some mountains. When have you seen a lemon tree up in some mountains? That's a tropical southern plant tree. I mean, fruit, you know. So it's not, it was in the wrong area. It's the wrong land. It wasn't supposed to be there. That's why he didn't know what it was. Okay. So that's what it's referring to. It's trying to tell you that it doesn't go there. It's not from there. It's not indigenous to that, or it's not. It didn't come from that place in the world. There, it was planted there, basically. So you guys are getting very deep into the distractions instead of seeing the metaphor of what the tree represented. It's a tree that wasn't supposed to be there, but it was. Hmm. Don't get hung up on what are the fruits and stuff, because that's not what the context of that tree meant. Hmm. Um. Hmm. A lemon is a hybrid. Hmm. So yeah, it's just metaphor. What? So So I was watching this video someone posted in my group last night. It was about the book of Enoch. Some guy was talking about this book, and he was like so pumped up. He was like, "That's the reason they hid it. That's the reason they hid it from you. Why do you?" They used to kill people that attempted to put the book of Enoch back into the Bible. After they had taken it out, they would send people to the guillotine to be decapitated for attempting to put the book of Enoch back into the Bible. Is that serious? You watched the book of Eli last night. Rainbow, yeah. Yeah, he was saying that on the video. The guy was saying that that's what that movie was based off of, the book of Enoch instead of the book of Eli, because people were fighting and trying to find that book and like wanting the power and the knowledge in that book. But the only person that could protect it was Denzel Washington, and he was blind. So when you're blind, Well, that's a whole nother story. But when you're blind, the only light you receive to your brain is, through your mind's eye and through your skin. Um, so the person of service was the only one that was able to hold that book and, take it to certain people that did not want it in the wrong hands. Um, right. Do I think Stevie Wonder is blind? Sure, I do. Right. Yeah, they did leave it in the Ethiopian Bible. They sure did, but they took it out the rest of them. So he was of service. He was a decent person, but he had a mission to get it to a certain place before he died in the movie. So I think that also goes back into the technology thing. In that movie, The Book of Enoch, they didn't have a lot of technology, but that book was just as important as technology to them, you know, to that one guy who at least knew about it, because no one else knew about it, which means if he had the information, he could rule over everybody and get them to do what he wanted to do. Thank you, Richie. Could you elaborate on 5G now versus the Egypt pyramid 5G? Thank you for the donation. 5G now versus 5G then is probably, since we have more manpower and technology, it's probably more widespread over, the whole country versus over a small area. And there's much more device. There's more devices and things that pick up these frequencies, so it's much more powerful now. And Egypt was in a land where there was a lot of melanated people, but now we're in a land where there's all different types of people. So it's going to affect different, it's going to affect people differently. It's going to affect people very different than it did in Egypt, you see, because a lot of that technology, when it was developed, did not consider certain people that weren't of that land. So they created that technology based on, who they were. Just like, building the car around the fuel system. It's the same thing, same concept. Now, when you take information from other places and try to apply it in foreign places or as a different type of person, it's not going to have the same results. People don't realize that when they take information from other cultures and try to pass it off as their own, it will backfire because that culture built that technology around their fuel system. And their fuel system is their bodies. So if you're going to build a car or a technology that runs off of solar energy, or the energies in the air and the atmosphere, and your body becomes cancerous with that type of energy, then it's going to backfire. So you're going to have to come up with a different type of energy because it's not going to work with certain frequencies. So that's where the AI, or that's where everything either backfires or they try to recreate a body that can withstand the technology that they could not originally create. You see, so if AI or artificial intelligence were ever to take over, they would have to create a new body for themselves to take over, to take the information, which they could not use effectively because it causes cancer. So they would have to find a way to make a body that can't get cancer in order to use what another people created. So if you're lost, you have to be here in the beginning of the video. Just wait till it uploads and just watch it from the beginning. You'll understand. So yeah, the technology 5G was already in place back in ancient Egypt. Wireless communication, the harnessing of electricity, all that stuff was in place already. It was already there. And Nikola Tesla tried to bring it back. They shut him down because they knew that that technology couldn't be used without causing damage or cancer to certain people. That's it. So if you notice the countries that have banned 5G, if you notice most of the countries that have banned 5G are not, countries that have a lot of brown people. Hmm. And then you look at the countries that have it, or if you look at what South Korea that has like 6 or 7G, they have the highest suicide rate. Hmm. So it says you're mixed with Arab, Italian, Scandinavian, and you're half white and Middle Eastern. Okay. Have you had your DNA done? You should get your DNA done to see, because you can break Arab down even further than Arab if you have African roots, right? Um, Tesla was a fraud. Just kidding. OJ King. I don't think Tesla was a fraud. I just think that he was he was so adamant on getting his technology out. Um, I think he was a secret evil genius, like one of those world villains. I think that's what Tesla was, but he was also a genius. But he also figured out a lot of things, and like read his book. I got his book too. His autobiography. Read that. He's a trickster. Straight up. He speaks in metaphor as well. Every story, every letter he writes is coded. Even the letters to his mother. Read it. Mhm. Um, who would I trust with my DNA? Everybody that has come in contact with me has my DNA. Like since I was a baby, if you were born in a hospital, they already got your DNA. You know, so I'm not really worried about that because they can't clone my stuff anyways. I don't care. you know, you met a real trickster, right? Tesla the Joker, right? So yeah, he was a joker. I think he was kind of like, because he was born and raised very poor and he wanted to make a name for himself and he wanted the victory and then he wanted the service. It frustrated him that he could not fully get the victory, like a Kanye West type figure. He was a ranter, like a Kanye West. He could not get the chance that he wanted or the opportunity that he wanted or the recognition that he wanted or the genius that he wanted to be recognized as. He was sort of like a Kanye West figure in those days with technology. um not taking anything away from him, but that's how he felt because he was not, he was an immigrant in America and he felt like he would never get recognized for his genius over other people that was not, you know so he felt as though he was always treated like he was a second class citizen. No matter how much he did, he would get like a temporary victory, or people would steal his patents and use them, and A, B, C, and D. So he was not recognized on the level that he felt that he should have been recognized. And so that kind of made him upset. And when you upset an extremely intelligent being as a whole country, you done messed up. Oh, that's all I'm gonna say. Okay. So I think y'all can figure out the rest. He acted out. Mhm. Who did Tesla learn from? I'm very sure he studied the ancient Egyptians. I'm very sure that he also studied all the ancient civilizations. If you read his book, he talks about how he can see visions with his eyes open, as if they're real, like in holographic form, and that's how he saw things and how he invented and created things. So just read his book; it's pretty good. He's a very interesting character. So I think at the end he was so frustrated and hurt by how he was treated. The ultimate revenge for him is to give his information and technologies to some people to a group of people that um, he put it in the right hands. I'll say that. I'll say he put it in the right hands before he died. hmm Um, the autobiography of Nikola Tesla. Hey, did you get some?
So I should have a magic trick.
You got a magic trick. What?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
Sasha can make money come out of her phone.
Okay, let me see. Oh, thank you. I need that one, girl. Thanks. Just kidding here. That's cool. I like that trick. So, the letters of Nikola Tesla, I think. Hey, Sash, will you bring me that Tesla book right there? Right there. It's down there on the bottom shelf. I'll show you because I forgot the name. It was the last one in the bookstore. Is that the Tesla book? No, it has his face on it.
Oh.
You just grab the first book. It's like orangish. It's on the bookshelf. It's on the bookshelf.
Oh.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, my inventions and other writings. This is the one that I got. It's like a paperback. I did underline some stuff in it that was coded. He spoke in code big time. He wrote poetry and all that kind of stuff and left information in the poems. So he wrote letters to his mother about how terrible he was being treated and unfairly and all that kind of stuff. He had his gambling and lower self phase where he went off and gambled and lived crazy for a few years. So that's all in here. His childhood. Okay, I'll read this part that I highlighted it. So, my method is different. I do not rush into actual work. When I get an idea, I start it at once, building it up in my imagination. I change the construction, make improvements, and operate the device in my head. It is absolutely immaterial. It's absolutely immaterial to me whether I run my turbine in thought or test it in my shop. I even note if it is out of balance. There is no difference whatever. Whatever the results, they are the same. So he says if he creates a model in his brain and runs it in his brain versus creating it in the material world and running it in his shop, the results will be the exact same because he thought that in depth to create something. When he thought of every gear, every little minor detail, he would use that to see if it worked. So, and then he claims that he got his information from otherworldly sources, like, the universe, the cosmos, a signal in the cosmos, aka the Akashic records, the Wi-Fi of the cosmos. So he was able to pick up on that. And the Akashic records are a frequency of information that could come from the past or the future. And if you are able to access Akashic records, you're also able to send messages to the past or to the future, basically. So this is spiritual technology, basically. Thank you, Gianni. Quick comment, just bought a symbolism book and I'm currently making a scrying mirror while watching you. Hey, thank you, 777. Yeah, you'll love that spiritual book or that symbolism book. Any symbolism book that I get, I can sit and look at it for like hours, just looking at the photos and the definitions. Tesla gets credit for other folks' homework, like Lewis Howard Latimer. That's true, but he never patented any of his things. You know why? Except for one or two things he got a patent for. But he never patented any of his things because he did not want to take credit for them because he got them from the Akashic records, which means they came from someone else's mind or the cosmic mind. So that's why he never took out patents on his stuff, because he was working truly in service. And that's why he wanted to give free electricity to people, because he was working in service. And that's why he left his most powerful invention to people that work in service. And that's a lot of people don't even realize that. So, the Akashic records, it's not something you read, it's something that you pick up on. It's like, you know how two people can get the same exact idea and don't even know each other? It just comes to them. That's the Akashic records. Okay? You have access to them. If you have a high frequency and you can pick up on them, it's like if you got a good satellite, you can pick up on certain frequencies. You get some certain channels on your TV that the dude down the street can't get with his, smaller or, rusty satellite. He can't get that. But if you have a certain satellite that can pick up on certain frequencies, you'll get it. So he got it through his being, his body. He talks about what he ate. His diet is in there. He didn't eat a lot of food at all. He didn't eat a lot of meat either. He did eat meat every once in a while, but he didn't eat a lot of it. It wasn't a main part of his diet. You have a symbolism book and it barely has pictures. Well, sometimes the information is just as good if you know what the symbol is. There are some that are like, go to like the discount section in any bookstore, where they have like the markdown price in the spirituality section, where the discounted books are. You'll always find one there with pictures. Thank you, Brittany Wells. I appreciate that. How long have I been on here? I need to get off of here soon. And the Akashic records is just a cosmic, universal source of information that's being streamed from one source throughout. Like there's no time. It can come from the past or the future. It's just, are you able to pick up on it? Hmm. Hmm. And a lot of people didn't like to mess with Nikola Tesla as far as science is concerned because he was too metaphysical. He was way too metaphysical for the scientists back in those days. But now they're studying him more than ever and using all his technology because they realized that science is metaphysical information, proven. That's all. You know, that's all that is. And so they didn't want to include him because of that, and also because of his immigrant status. You're looking. Oh, no. The quantum got people to realize they should tally in the consciousness in the algorithms. Hmm. Mm-hmm. 369. How about the heck? I can use these numbers in our line. Those are the frequencies. The Fibonacci sequence, the spiral, the pattern, the sacred geometry, the levels of consciousness. You know, the prime number. It starts with the prime number. Yeah. Blessed my family with medical equipment. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. To the exact day, 5 years. Oh, that's good. Congratulations. Hmm. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, is the ascension they're pushing the same as 3D death? No, not at all. The best way I can explain, let me close that door. The best way I can explain that, okay, 3D death. 3D death comes with a 3D consciousness. So a 3D consciousness does not know of anything else but a 3D death. So it's not the same. you a person that has experienced a 3D death would experience what they learned with their 3D consciousness. So if they died and they were heavily into religion and they thought that if they were a good person that they would go to a heaven with clouds and angels and choirs, whatever, and they died, it didn't see that type of place or experience, then they would probably be very disappointed and probably reincarnate and try again to seek a higher level of consciousness because that wasn't it. It's kind of like a dead end in a maze. It's like a dead end in a maze. Like, whoop, well, that wasn't it. Let me start over. So that would probably be the literal, them having the literal version of whatever religion they believed in and then not being able to find that heaven. So then they would reincarnate. Um, The only thing I watched about him was 369 Secrets of the Universe, but it doesn't make any sense. Um, Whoever probably explained the 369 was not understanding the metaphysical characteristics of the 369. What is the third planet? What is the sixth planet? What is the ninth planet? Um, what is, you have three, which is a triangle. You have six, which is a hexagon, and you have nine. What's that? You have to use every aspect to see what he's talking about. hmm Why are people mentally ill? So many people mentally ill. Why are there many shootings? I think it's because people are bird boxing. Um, as the 5G energy increases, a lot of people aren't able to take that pressure. Also, the pressure of the earth. Since we are traveling through the universe, the pressure has increased on the planet physically. The physical density to some people who cannot rise in frequency has increased, and they don't know what to do. They have so much energy, pent up pressure inside of them that they cannot release. And that's how they release it. They go crazy. They go bird box. They go violent. They're not using rationale. Their brain is being affected by a lot of these frequencies in the 5G. So they're going to make decisions that they wouldn't normally make under old circumstances of how the earth used to be. Thank you, Tina Atiro. Thank you for all the knowledge you share. Oh, thank you so much for the donation. Appreciate that. Kira, thank you. I just want to say hi, Mrs. Shira, my recent think. Hey, thank you so much. 1122. Yeah, it's all in the book of Enoch. If you read it and know how to decode, it talks about all those things happening. All those people going crazy, becoming extra violent, killing themselves. That's all in here. All of it. Bird boxes in the Bible. Not the word bird box, but bird box represents a spirit box. A spirit box is a box that spirits cannot escape from. And once she put those birds in that box and took them on a journey, the birds were the indicator, when they started chirping, that there was some frequencies around, So bird box represents the earth, and the birds are the spirits, and the people going crazy is from the changing of the frequency. Did you see that? Like whenever the frequency came around, it looked like a wind or a static electromagnetic frequency. That's what that is. It's a frequency change that people cannot adjust to mentally or spiritually. That's why she had to put the blindfold over her eye, because the frequency change was not the same level as her frequency. Frequency is light. So she had to cover how light got into her brain. And that way she wouldn't be affected. So it's kind of scientific at the same time. Yeah. And then when they finally got somewhere, it was to the school of the blind. And when they let the birds out, they let them back out into another bird box, an atrium, a giant bird box. So they would escape one house, go on a journey. They would have birds in a box as an indicator. They would have to wear blindfolds to not be able to be affected by those frequencies. And then once they got to their destination, they got out and went into a whole nother bird box. So that's the meaning of bird box. And there's so many like old alchemy pictures of a bird box. exactly what a bird box is. Birds represent the spirit, and see, I'll show you. Those are the birds, bird box. And see how there's a hole? Sorry, you see how there's a hole and an opening, and the spirits slowly start to ascend into stars. Um, yeah. So a bird box. hmm But it's all like you're just supposed to find happiness and peace because, like, those blind people, they were so peaceful and fine and happy in their own frequency, in their own world. They weren't even concerned about the outside world because they can't really see anyway. And they were the only ones that truly weren't affected. So, if you remember at that movie, she was pregnant too. So she had a spirit within her. So it was a bird box within a bird box within a bird box. With the same thing I was talking about at the beginning of this video on how to trap a group of people, or how to trap and stop people from trying to become um, to get out of what they were put in, like how to stop artificial intelligence from overtaking or overthrowing the people or beings that created it. That's all it is. hmm Okay, y'all. I think that's enough to absorb for one afternoon, evening. So thank y'all for watching. Um, and just enjoy life. Do what you like, do what you love, have fun. Bye.